Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us, or been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight those transformational moments that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. Now, you can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also join our Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community, and never miss an episode by subscribing wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Himalaya app, Pocket Cast, the Google Play Music app, Pandora, and available on our YouTube channel at Life Transformation Radio. So subscribe to our YouTube and subscribe to wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and tell your friends and family. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are impacting the world around them. And my guest today has done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, go ahead and give us a call at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. Or you're more than welcome to slide into our chat room here at Blog Talk Radio and ask us any questions, and we will address them right here live on the show. And with that, please help me welcome to the show my guest for today, Carl Loop. Carl, welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hey, Sean, thank you very much. Great fortunes and fullest life.
Man, I am pumped to have you on the show. We've been talking for a little while, and I'm real eager to know some of the backstory of what you bring to the table. I was always a VH1 behind the scenes, you know, the MTV cribs. Like, I want to see what goes on outside of the limelight. Because a lot of times on social media, people post things that they really want someone to see, but they don't post the things that people really want to see. So I'm excited to dig down to the deep, dirty, nitty-gritty, nasty, and get in and talk about business, working with executives and working with business owners.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's do that.
All right, so the title of this episode is Mondays Reimagined, How to Win the Week with CEO Carl Loop. He is the CEO of Global Business Builders. He works with executives and business owners and teams to achieve leap business results. He has award-winning Fortune 100 senior leadership experience and has built 6 successful businesses of his own. Drawing upon his 3 decades of corporate and entrepreneurial leadership experience, Carl's developed scalable and sustainable programs and consulting to achieve reimagined heights for peak performance, high-impact leadership, and leap business growth. A few of his highlights of client successes is that he saved a large Fortune 100 corporation over $5 million. Within 2 weeks, executive client was asked to consider being on the board of 2 multi-billion-dollar corporations. Business owners get massive time back and open second business, which reaches multiple 7 figures within 2 years. An employee purchases the $8 million business where they were employed. And he gives immediate on-the-spot solutions and results delivered through his keynote speaking, workshops, LEAP programs, and consulting. To learn more about how to win your week, check out carlloop.com/Mondays-Reimagined. It's right there in the show notes. You can click on that, go to carlloop.com, and his LinkedIn link is right there. Send him a request, letting him know that you listened to his episode of Life Transformation Radio. Carl, my first question that I have to ask, and I believe is the most important question you could ever ask yourself, is why? Why do you do what you do?
Well, my why is based on helping people have significant success and wholehearted fulfillment. And what I've seen in my life is that people often people have one or the other or neither, but rarely have them together. And that's my why.
So why is that? You said they can rarely have them together. Well, why?
Well, what I've noticed is that people rarely have them together. They usually have either significant success or wholehearted fulfillment, but rarely the combination together. So they're in, a shocking 75% or more people are dreading Mondays, and that dread starts really hard on Sundays,
Yep.
And that's somebody that's probably missing one of those pieces, either success or fulfillment. And I'd love to see people have them both, because nobody should be dreading Mondays.
I think they had too much fun over the weekends. People live for the weekend. And you're right. They are unfulfilled during the week. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a quote that says something like, you only die once, and the person says, no, you only, the quote says, you only live once, and the person says, no, that's incorrect. You only die once, but you live every day. And that's a question I have for people. Are you really living every day?
Most people live for the weekend.
Living for the weekend. So, what are they living for on Monday or Tuesday? Like, how are they having their fullest life on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? And if they dread Mondays, then usually that starts on Sunday. So they get basically 1 day out of 7 of their life to sort of feel, hey, this is great. That's hard.
Right. I don't know. I can't imagine living, and I've spent decades in the military on active duty. I just can't imagine waking up every day just hating life. I've done that before. I've been deployed to the Middle East, and those deployments are not always fun, and you're kind of hating life, and it's hot, and it's miserable, and you got like 50 pounds of gear on. It sucks. Life absolutely is atrocious at that moment. But that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. There are several things going on. Let's just take a look at, if we can, Sean. Let's take a look at the default version of if you look at a person's life or a person's behavior or inner state, mindset, however you want to say it. If you take a look at a person, they can have a default, they can have what's possible version of themselves, and then they can have an accomplish the impossible version of themselves. And what happens very often is that people live some sort of default that's sort of a pre-programmed type of person that they became or that they are. And, they're not really living. So the default version it typically is, kick yourself when you're down, doubt yourself when you're up, or just kind of get by and survive, not really thriving. You
ever seen the picture where the like what I think success is and what success actually is, right? And it's like a bunch of squiggly lines up and down, like all over the place, but people think that it's like at the bottom and I just go straight to the top. That's the way. Right. That's what I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm thinking in my head right now when you're talking about this. And I'm like, man, it's so true. I got it's like, what am I worried about? And then I drop below and I'm like, oh, I suck. And then I go up again and I'm like, oh, see, I know what I'm doing. And then drop below and you're like, oh no, I suck again. Why do I put myself through this? And then you get up again and you're at like your highest moment. And you're like, see, 6 figures, nailed it. And it goes to the bottom and goes, lost it all. My life sucks. Like that's literally the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So it's definitely not a straight line. Success is definitely not a straight line. But again, going back to the default version, it tends to be a lifestyle of people living the same year for, another year. It's almost like the Groundhog Day, but it's a year, a Groundhog year, and then the next year is another Groundhog year. And, the assembly line, the treadmill, the hamster wheel, all that stuff is what it's called. And another part of my why is that people can break out of sort of that, that cycle and reach to something bigger, bolder, and more amazing, more extraordinary for their lives. And what tends to happen, though, is that people can often sit in the same pattern and stay there for 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 years, or maybe even their whole life, wondering at the end of their life or at some later date in their life, looking back, did I really do everything I could have? Did I live fully? Mm-hmm. Maybe even some regrets or so forth. So, the greatest adventure of your life is your life. And so what I help people do is take on the adventure journey to, those higher levels. Because, every new level requires a new version of you. Mm-hmm. And those 3 versions, default, what's possible version, and accomplish the impossible version.
I love that. Say that one more time, the 3. Say that one more time because I really want to get that because that's powerful.
Yeah, man. The 3 versions are kind of the default version of who we are, the what's possible version of who we are, and then the accomplish the impossible version. And I'll tell you in a little bit, when we're ready, I'll talk to you about, those 3 levels.
I was going to say, I think that most people probably sit, and this is not knowing anything about what you're going to talk about it, I literally believe that most people sit at the what's possible level and never move beyond that. Most people. I don't think people just walk around going, well, this is who I am, never going to improve. This is all I got in life. I think there's an intrinsic value trait somewhere in their body that says, this isn't all there is to offer in life. There has to be more than this. I don't think that people
start feeling it. Yeah.
Yep.
They definitely start feeling it. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Please. Well, I mean, people definitely start feeling something at a certain point in their life. Mm-hmm. Usually, but doesn't mean they're going to act on it. But they may feel it. They may feel there's a calling to something more for them. But then the question is, what action are they taking toward that? And I find that a lot of people can talk about it, can even possibly see a little bit about, their vision, their extraordinary possibilities and so forth, but they don't quite know the journey to get there. And if you don't see, one thing is I've noticed is that people that can't see the journey often won't take the full journey. They can't see it fully. Right. They don't take the full journey. So Here's the journey. The journey basically starts with, the default of yourself, and that's usually very transactional. Your parents say, get a job, go get a job. What are you going to do for a living? Go make money. And it becomes kind of a black and white. You start looking for things that make you money without even considering whether it fulfills you or not often. Okay. And then person starts making money and starts accumulating things, and that feels good. And it feels good for a while. However, what happens is the possessions we accumulate and the pleasures we have, they have some meaning, but then they start to mean less and less over time until they can even become meaningless. And then you start to have an emptiness inside because you chased all these things, and you can even be successful and miserable. So that's sort of that's sort of a default path, but what you can do to move above that is start looking at what's possible, break away from the default and you break away from the default by starting to become win-oriented and starting to add more dimension to your personality than just the black and white. So now you're going to add things to your life that are not just carrot and stick, if then rewards. You're going to start expanding and looking for wins you can have and what your passion is and what's unique about you and what, professional developments you want. And now you're on your way to not just extrinsic sort of pre-programmed thinking, analytical thinking, like an engineer, like I said, kick yourself when you're down, doubt yourself when you're up. I would say the protect brain takes over most of your life there. You're protecting everything. Everything is defined by a resource that has to be protected, and glass is half full often, and so forth. But then now you're starting to expand. But the next level of what's possible, you start to expand yourself, as you say. And what's an educational goal you can achieve? What's something you can do outside of, like I say, the carrot and stick? The instrumental conditioning things. Like, who are you outside of what you do? Okay, so then you start to involve your passion and your heart a little bit more. Not completely yet. You're still sort of in the middle, and that's what I call is the professional, personal growth version of you. The what's possible version. You might get a new promotion at work. You might start a new job, take on a new skills. You're starting to be interested in learning more. Reading, expanding yourself, maybe even start to connect to some of those passions you had younger that you probably gave up because they didn't look like they were going to make you money. And then the highest version of us is, and so I said default, what's possible. Now let's take a look at the extraordinary, the self-actualized version of us is, mostly concerned with learning and passion and uniqueness. You love what you do and you love your life, and you've gone inside to go up instead of outside to go up. You've gone into who you are and brought who you are into what you do, and you're building your mind, you're building your expanded thinking, and you've gone into the intrinsic world inside to go up. And what I've noticed is that unless you bring who you are into what you do, you'll never be extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? Because it always has to be, if you're not bringing who you are into what you do, you're just not going to be extraordinary. You have to have a sense of passion and uniqueness and ownership and buy-in and connection. The three things you want to have to be sort of in the flow, as they say. There's a psychologist that talks about being in the flow. You've probably heard the word. It's got to be pleasurable. But we're all used to that one. The desire for that one. But the other thing is it has to be absorbing. You have to lose a sense of time. You have to lose track of, you might be driving down the road thinking about something you just are so absorbed by, you miss your turn. Okay? And you lose track of time even, okay? So number one is pleasurable. Number two is you get absorbed by it. And number three is it has a deep personal meaning to you, okay? Are you there? Yeah.
Yep.
And so, thank you. And so, that's the extraordinary version. That's the accomplished, the impossible version of you. And these people that accomplish these impossible things like athletes or astronauts or business owners. Now, by the way, success is not defined the same for everybody. Success has to be your unique vision of significant success and your unique vision of wholehearted fulfillment. I think I've talked to you in a previous conversation, one of the successes I had is I've saved 6 people's lives. That's a success. Now a lot of people would not count success that way. But, I surely do. I've lived overseas. That's a success. I've had 6 successful businesses that I've created and built. I've helped others create, more profitable and significant success businesses in the tens of, companies have profited by tens of millions of dollars of working by me. But success is not measured just one way. Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me what do you get?
So So then how do you measure success?
Yeah, I mean, I measure success by, for me, my vision and purpose is I create peace, power, and prosperity by accelerating high achievers to significant success and wholehearted fulfillment. So that's how I measure success. It's not just enough that people. It's not enough that people just get, the money and the things. They have to I want people to see, just having not just riches but enrichment in their life. And that's how I measure success. So recently, I had a client, for instance, in their first business they ever owned, and in their first year, we were talking about the vision of their success, and they want a home in Colorado, and they want a stream going by it, or a river going by it. They want to change the world from people just sort of. They want to raise the standard in the business they're in. This has to do. It's an oil and gas company. They want to raise the standard of that industry. So that's another piece of their vision. And then another piece of their vision is that they have, a lot of freedom. And in their first business and in their first year, they profited over $400,000. And
wow,
they have money toward their house. They're well on their way toward, raising the standard and training people to an exceptional level. And, they're cruising along. So that's how I measure success.
Love it. I love that, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. The focus of the show is all about transformation. And a reason why I started the show was I found in coaching business clients that there's always an awakening, a breakthrough, some kind of a transformation, something that happens. And they realize that, one, they can probably make money from it, or two, it didn't start out that way to make money. It was just something they loved, cooking pies or volunteering at, 501c3s, but it just turned into a business. So my question for you is, what was your transformational moment that happened and it changed your life, which then put you on the path to what you're doing today?
Great. So let me describe it a little bit. It'll be a few sentences, and then I'll get to your big point. But the story to your big point is, I know what it's like to be dreading Mondays starting on Sundays. For over 20 years, I was hijacked into thinking that financial success was the only measure of success, without even considering what fulfilled me, Sean. So I had many pleasures, as I said, and they mattered less and less until I became empty inside. I was successful but miserable. And because of my hijacked thinking, I lost my passion, I lost my creativity, and I lost who I was for over 20 years. See, when I was in my early 20s, my first degree, which I had a love for since 8 years old, my first degree was fine arts and photography. And when I was 21 years old, I walked away from it saying, there's no way I can make money there. That was a transformational moment toward the dark side, I guess, but toward a direction that became unfulfilling, and that's why I'm saying these things, and I lost myself. So I went into some pretty fascinating things. However, over time, even with the money that they made me, they mattered less and less and less because I didn't have fulfillment. But before things got better, they got horribly worse. I moved to Texas over 10 years ago from Virginia, and within 1 year of moving to Texas, I went through a divorce, custody battles, and a record-setting hurricane hit my waterfront home.
Jeez.
So I had to, I remember sitting by my pool, just looking at the sky in the middle of the night, like, midnight, looking at the stars and just saying, what was all this for? All these possessions and, waterfront home, really nice, pleasurable things, luxury cars, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And this was my second waterfront home, but, what was it all for? Because I lost everything. Everything that I thought had such meaning, just got erased. And so
wow.
I had to reimagine my life just to keep on living. I had to find purpose and fulfillment. So this was my transformational moment, you know, and this was over 10 years ago. And by the way, when I moved to Texas, I was in such a kind of mental state that my two goals when I moved to Texas were over 10 years ago. My two goals, Sean, were number one, to stop honking my horn almost every day out of agitation.
Okay.
Okay. And number two, that I could have this is the second goal I had moving to Texas, that I could have at least one happy thought a day. That's how low I was. That's how spiritually bankrupt I was.
Spiritually bankrupt. I like that. Spiritually bankrupt.
And man, was I dreading Mondays. Well,
because of the job?
Just my state of life. You know, usually when I got visitation with my kids, I had to return them on Sundays. So Mondays, the weight of the world and my loneliness and aloneness came crashing down.
Yeah. Reality hit on Mondays.
Horribly hard.
Yep.
So, but I started reimagining life. You know, I figured out, you know, if you can tackle the hardest day first, maybe the rest would follow. So I started reimagining my life on Mondays. You know, I started thinking, writing quotes, you know, thinking about my next steps, creating a vision for my life. And I also started trying to learn to be present in my life.
Yes.
See, most of the time, Sean, you know, often we are not living in the present. And so therefore we are troubled about the past and concerned about the future, doubting ourselves about the past, you know, and so forth. So, but the biggest one is troubled about the past and concerned about the future. And so that's such a default state too. You know, just like pick you when you're down, doubt you when you're up. That's another default kind of lie we were programmed with. Not all, but, you know, this is what I found for myself. Some people can relate to their version of that or don't have it. I don't know. But I do know that studies show, you know, that shocking 75% of people are dreading Mondays. And so I started reimagining my life. Now, Mondays Reimagined with the 7 powers of purpose, Mondays Reimagined, Master Your Monday, Win the Week is the name of my book, you see? So the name of my book, Mondays Reimagined, and in the subtitle, Master Your Monday, Win the Week. You know, how you start the week sets the week. And this is what I found and what I held on to, and that's why I started with Mondays. And, you know, but my transformational moment was, you know, I got to find meaning in my life. After all of this grief and struggle and loss.
Yeah.
You know, anger, agitation, emptiness. I had to find a new path. Yeah.
Where in Texas did you move to?
I moved from Richmond, Virginia to Houston, Texas area. And
okay.
I had a waterfront.
Yeah.
I had a waterfront home on an island called Tiki Island. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. I lived in San Antonio for 4 years. I was a drill instructor for Air Force basic training. So I lived there from 2009 to 2013 until I got reassigned and had to move. So yeah, it's a 4-year tour. It was a drill instructor 4-year tour. And it's great. So we thought about retiring back there, like just moving and going to San Antonio or somewhere around there, because you know you got Houston, Dallas, Laredo, West, San Antonio. There's one more down at the you got Austin, but you got one more down at the tip, down south. I mean, these are major metropolises, like major cities, you know, and it seems like there's always something going on in one of those cities. So as either like a business consultant, like a speaker, being in Texas is booked all the time.
Yeah, it's like one of the top 3. Yeah. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
So I have a quiz here. People can ask themselves, are you dreading Mondays? You want to hear that?
Sure, let's do it. Let's do the quiz.
Okay. So are you dreading Mondays? Let's take the quiz.
Yeah. I'm not. I don't dread Mondays.
Well,
I think my wife does, though.
Let me tell you these 5 questions, and people, your listeners, can think about it. So, are you financially successful, but something is missing? And you were talking earlier about people. They do have a thought about something. What's possible version? Have you lost your leadership edge? Question 2. Question 3, have you lost your passion? Leave it behind. Did you walk away from it somewhere like I did with my fine arts degree in photography? Number 4, have you lost your creativity? See, now these are all very intrinsic type of things, passion, creativity. Mm-hmm. They're internal stuff. There's stuff. See, if you look at yourself as the engine that gets things done and the fuel that runs that engine, the intrinsic heart of who you are, the heart of who you are, the intrinsic internal soul of who you are is your gasoline, man.
Mm-hmm. And
if that tank is empty, it doesn't matter how strong or powerful or big your engine is, it's just not running, or it's not running on all cylinders. So number 5, have you lost who you are? So those are some questions, your listeners could take a listen, a thought to, and put a thought to.
Sure.
Maybe one yes answer is maybe not that big a deal. 2 yes answers, you might start looking at, how are you doing? Are you fulfilled? How are Mondays for you? And if you're 3 or more yes answers, then you're very likely unfulfilled and dreading Mondays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely, for me, the one that resonated the most right off the bat, as soon as I heard the question, was is missing. And since I was a kid, I've always had this feeling that I was meant for something. I don't know what it is. I wanted the one to invent the car, the phone, the light bulb. I wanted to be that guy, who somehow selflessly changed the world, humanity, something, like Netflix changed our habits. Uber changed our habits. That's what I want to, and I still believe I'm going to do something. I don't know what it is, but I never want to go into a situation feeling any kind of regret, any kind of remorse, like, man, I should have done this, and, But I do feel like one day I'm going to invent something, or I'm going to change the world somehow, and there's a great meme on social media you see sometimes around the entrepreneur circles, and it's like, Colonel Sanders was this age, and the founder of McDonald's was this age, and the founder of that guy, and the founder of this, and the founder of that, all 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. I had Ron Klein on the show, and he's amazing. He invented the magnetic strip for the credit card.
Yeah, I know Ron.
And and he was telling, I was like, when do you quit? He's like, when I'm dead. I was like, okay, I guess. He's like, why am I going to retire? I'm already retired. I've been retired for years. I'm like, okay. He's like, retirement isn't fishing and boating and sitting on your front porch. Retirement is what you want it to be. I'm like, okay. He's like, I want to build businesses. I'm like, but that's what you've done your whole life. He's like, well, then I've been in retirement my whole life. I was like, that's awesome. That's where I want to get to. That is what I want to do. That is it. If that's the picture of retirement, sign me up, man. I am so in there.
Let me give you a couple of thoughts about, kind of finding your mission. Okay.
Yeah.
One is, work on your vision. And this is all in my book, by the way. Another point, Sean, is connecting unconnected things. You just brought up the Netflix guy. Now he was motivated because he had $40 of fines. with Blockbuster, and he was disturbed by that. And then when he went to the gym, late fees, he had late fees. So when he went to the gym, he came up with this idea of the subscription model with, just like a gym is, unlimited use for a monthly fee. That subscription model for the movie industry.
Yep.
So he combined the subscription model of like the gyms had with the movie industry, and so he connected two unconnected things. And that's how
Brilliant.
He found his secret, his brilliance, as you just said. So that's the second thing. Another thing is, really the journey, understand the journey. Again, this is all in my book. I call it a 3-part journey to extraordinary. And I try to describe a little bit of that today, but, the 7 powers of purpose are, P for passion, U for uniqueness, R for reimagine. This is all on my website, carlloop.com / and then, or whatever slash it is, carlloop.com / Mondays-reimagine. That's where it talks about my book. And so P is passion, U is uniqueness. What is your unique view of, what is your unique vision of significant success and wholehearted fulfillment? See, those are the 2 unconnected things I connect. R is reimagine, reimagine the most extraordinary version of you.
Mm-hmm.
P is,
I like it.
Thank you. And this spells purpose, okay? So then P is peak experiences. The things that, now remember this as a leader, okay? The things people remember are not those possessions that they become habituated to, but those experiences they had. Now, here's an exercise for sort of a challenge exercise for your listeners. What is something you accomplished that you had thought was impossible? Listeners, and to you, Sean, what is something you accomplished that you had thought was impossible? See, that's a peak experience and the extraordinary version of you. The accomplished, the impossible version of you. Since you accomplished something you had thought was impossible, there it is, right there. It shows itself. It reveals itself. Mm-hmm. Then O is ownership. Know and own your extraordinary leadership. S is scale. Scale is all about, tactics save the day, but strategies change the future, like let's go to the moon, change the whole world. So that's scale, getting larger and bigger and expanded. And then E is expression. All great leaders express themselves, or let's say the leaders that do express themselves powerfully, persuasively, influentially, and so forth, magically, they carry the day for people. They bring unity and healing and growth to others by their amazing expression. That's why quotes are so powerful, right? And without vision, the past predicts the future. And you weren't born to live the default ordinary life you were given. You were born to live the extraordinary magical life you create. And, my book has over 50 transformational conversations like these. So,
very cool.
That's that's stuff for your leadership, for our leadership.
Yep. So is that how you would say that you elevate the world around you?
I absolutely elevate the world by creating peace, power, and prosperity by accelerating high achievers to significant success and wholehearted fulfillment.
Sounds amazing. Do you have a certain level of people that you work with, though?
Well, anybody can buy my book.
What I'm saying is, like, when you work with businesses.
Yeah. A level. I mean, they're typically going to be good, established business owners or executives.
I got it.
Yeah.
But, so, like, I only consult 7 figures, or I only consult 8-figure business, right? So, a C-suite, like all that. If someone's listening going, oh my God, I love what you're talking about. I got to get more connected with Carl. Like, this is amazing. That's why I always ask.
Yeah, people can touch me by my book, which comes with 7 videos. They can touch me by my blogs. They can, I consult and I actually mentor some people for free. And, because, even Tony Robbins says, giving is living.
Yeah.
Right. That's one of his sayings.
Yep.
And, I'm not here in this world to be all about me, because, man, that's a horrible life. When the world is just about you and what you're supposed to, everything's all about you. That's a tough life to live, because it doesn't work out that way.
Right. Zig Ziglar said that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll eventually get what you want.
Yeah.
And it's so true. It's so true. You know, I have a conversation where I hold the leverage, where somebody's like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this one thing. And I'm like, well, if I were you, I would do this or this or this. Or, hey, let me get in touch with this guy. Let me help you out and just give. And it's so incredible what happens. They're like, wow, man, that's awesome. What can I do for you? It opens people up. When you're sharing resources and you're sharing experiences, you're sharing, whatever it is, the transformation, whatever it is that you can elevate somebody with, and you share that. I've never met one person, not one person, who said, thanks God. They were at least, even if they were insensitive about it, they were still like, man, that's awesome. Like, what can I do for you? Sometimes you're like, man, I'm upset. And they're like, okay, cool, thanks. Sometimes that happens. There's collaboration that take place. And then competition kind of just falls away. So.
Yeah, and competition is a kind of a lower consciousness state, maybe a default state.
Yes.
Power is
Definitely.
Power is a much higher power is a much higher place than force. And people say confidence, so I say connecting with others is a higher place than confidence. Because confidence is look at me, right? But connection is, we're co-creating. We're about each other. And that in the military, my goodness.
Oh yeah. Yep, absolutely. Oh man, you nailed it. So in our last 2 minutes together, I want to give a takeaway for the audience. So again, you have a book, we referenced it a couple times, Mondays Reimagined. And a link to that is in the show notes. You can learn how to win your week by going to carlloop.com/Mondays-Reimagined. carlloop.com/Mondays-Reimagined. It is right there in the show notes. You can go ahead and click on that. Get his book today. But Carl, I want to leave the audience with something. You give them one message to end the show. What would it be?
One message, here it is. How big is your bold? How bold is your big? Contemplate on that.
That is amazing. Wow.
You like that one?
Because everybody kind of thinks small. I'm like, so many people think small. When you said how bold is your big, I tell people that if your goals, your dreams, your aspirations don't make people laugh and they don't throat punch other people when you tell it to them, it's not high enough. It's not high enough. People don't spit out their glass of water, whatever they're drinking, beer, juice, whatever. If they take a drink and they don't spit out and go, ha, and like choke and stuff, it doesn't throat punch them. It is not high enough.
Yeah, we're talking about, being above the default. The default is the status quo.
Yep.
So if everybody's comfortable, it's probably not the right place.
There you go. Oh, for sure. For sure. If you're comfortable, you're in the wrong place. I never want to be the biggest fish in the pond. I always want to be like small to kind of medium, just like always learning, always growing, always, so awesome. Carl, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has absolutely been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest impacting the world around him. The takeaway that he gave was absolutely incredible. How big is your bold, and how bold is your big? I just absolutely blew my mind. How bold is your big? Connect with him at Carl Loop, L-O-O-P, carlloop.com. Connect with them. Send him a friend request on LinkedIn. Get his book and take back your Monday. And with that, I close the show by saying, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.